Okay, Warriors, sorry for the long delay. I'll explain though. This is Movie Madness, episode 1, but I have to do it a little different. I had a whole episode recorded, edited, and you know what? My computer just doesn't cut it. Every time I tried to upload it, it would have an error right at the end. So, what does that mean? We're going to have more videos. I'm going to have to cut it into sections and do like 10 to 15 minute videos each. But this way, it'll be a little bit easier because I will include one super chat question in every single video. But we have a hot topic to talk about at the start of this show, and look for the second part of the show later today. So, what is so hot? The hottest topic to talk about right now, and that a lot of people are letting pass by. There's an all-out shill brigade against Netflix. And, as you see in the title of this video, Game of Thrones Season 9. What does that mean? And by the way, go ahead and smash the hell out of that like button for a movies talk series that has free super chats and will become, with your help, the best damn movie related show on YouTube. John Campy has been claiming it for years. Let's show him how it's done. And honestly, I think it can be the best because we're small, but we're mighty. We're warriors. We stick together, and there's no paywall. You don't pay for friends. You join them in a crusade against Disney, the big bully. And I'm here to tell you that Disney directly affected Game of Thrones and why it's so rushed. What you don't hear on any movie talk here on YouTube, at least not that I've seen, is D.B. Weiss and David Benioff jumping ship from HBO to Disney. Now, I thought it was a big story when it happened. When Kathy Kennedy, one of the few announcements she made last year was that one. And that's actually when Rian Johnson's trilogy was done. Honestly. But it's a big story, and when you're made men at a studio, you don't jump ship unless, I know there's money involved, you know that. How big the payday is another story, but when Disney wants something, they go get it, and there's no stopping them, and the effects of the Disney bullying and getting what they want has ripple effects all across many properties, many studios, and not only did they do it to get them to work on Star Wars, there's an ulterior motive to sniping D.B. Weiss, Dave Benioff. Now, I know a lot of you out there are not fans of them right now, but the truth is, even if you do not like this season, they couldn't have foresaw that, Disney. But the books were great by George R.R. Martin. But this show has brought Game of Thrones into the pop culture like nothing else. And they are one of the hottest showrunners out there. So when Disney scoops them up, it is a big deal. Just think about the MCU and getting to Endgame. All those actors. It's a similar situation to Game of Thrones. The showrunners' contract was expiring. All the actors' contract was expiring. And HBO definitely has pockets, but they're not as deep as Disney. And I'm here to tell you, a lot went down behind the scenes. And it was right around the time Solo was having its trouble. They wanted that big headline. They wanted to snipe the showrunners. And because they know they're getting into the streaming service, this is a way to attack HBO. Scooping up the showrunners and all those actors and directors. It's a whole package deal. They want to all work with the same showrunners they've done that have raised their notoriety in the entertainment industry, so they want to stick with them. You think they're loyal to D.B. Weiss, David Benioff, or HBO? They're going to stay loyal to the showrunners. So all those people are moving over to Disney. And this week is where you really see the power and influence of Disney and their power holding their power over access media, because there is a shill brigade against Netflix right now. Do you think it's a coincidence that the same week, I think a day later, after Hulu becomes 100% controlled by Disney, that this article comes out, a poll that asks Netflix users, if Netflix loses Disney Pixar, Star Wars, and the Marvel movies, will you stop subscribing to the service? And almost 30% have. And then you get an email. I don't know how I got a Disney email. Disney Plus, you could pre-order your subscription right now, and it's at a low cost to destroy the competition. They're doing it at a loss to destroy Netflix and HBO, their biggest competition. Now, would Disney know that sniping up D.B. Weiss and David Benioff would damage the final season of Game of Thrones? I'm not going that far, but if they did know that it would cause problems with that series, do you think they'd still do it? Hell yes, they would. They do whatever they can. They go to war against other companies, scoop up the talent, scoop up the IPs, and leave disaster. So when these things happen, everyone knows. And the one thing Kathy is good for is she knows the ins and outs, and she has influence and people everywhere. So they, of course, know that the contracts are expiring, and there very well could have been a Game of Thrones Season 9 if it wasn't for the Disney influence, sniping, and the bidding war. Better believe there was a bidding war for these two. If you think they're worth it now, that's a different story. So what would HBO do? You know, there's no competing with I wouldn't compete with Disney with their big pockets. So instead of extending the contract for everyone, which raises costs of the production exorbitantly, they say, you know what? You fulfill your contract, split the last 13 episodes that you're contracted for into 2 seasons. And if you go past 13, you have to renegotiate the contract. So don't do that. Pour a lot of money into those episodes instead to make them bigger. And Disney, you can have them, and then we'll make prequels and side story shows like crazy. That's why you're seeing this mess of Season 8. And you know they show media, access media loves to say the creators were involved. Very limited. But I will tell you this, and this is a spoiler, the Mad Queen, yeah, there were nuggets there that introduced her, but she flipped like a switch because everything was rushed. And I believe that's because they didn't get their payday from HBO. They jumped ship, so they have bad blood, and they have. I think they know. I think George R. R. Martin did tell them this is what eventually is going to happen to these characters. But you have to get them there with limited time, and that's why there's such U-turns and drastic forks in the road to character arcs. Because they knew the ending, but not how to get there. But the Disney is going full force, trying to kill the other streaming services out there. Do you see what's happening with the Netflix? Netflix is a access media, social media influencers' worst nightmare. When everyone gets access to content at the same time, and you know what? I am all for it now. I love going to the movies when it's a quality movie, and I will boycott hard when it's not and they don't respect the fans. But streaming is the future. It's reality. And when more and more goes towards streaming, access media loses their influence. It's their worst nightmare. Now Disney's going towards streaming too, but they also have the last foothold in the movie theaters and in all across the world. So that's why the shilling is unbelievable right now against Netflix. How many videos out there do you see from Collider or Campy say, is Netflix in trouble? This all came out a day after Hulu was taken over 100% by Disney. It's not a coincidence. It's a media campaign against Netflix. And Disney doesn't care the damage they leave for other studios and stories. They don't care. So that's what you're seeing with the fandom of Game of Thrones. It's being directly impacted by Star Wars and Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, going for that headline to get the hottest showrunners out there for their next movie. So, in conclusion, with at least this topic, before I get to the super chat of this video, I'll give you 3 reasons why the 3 biggest reasons to me that Game of Thrones is in this situation. Number 3, the contracts were already expiring for the showrunners, actors, everyone working on this production. Along with George R.R. Martin not finishing up the final books in the series. So they can't wait forever. They can't wait for him to finish, because if you wait, it's too late. All those actors are going to move on to other projects. Their salaries are only going to get higher after this. Number 2 is Kathy Kennedy wanting her big headline for Star Wars, obtaining the hottest showrunners out there at whatever cost, and the ulterior motives of Disney, Lucasfilm, of doing that to put another blow to HBO. Why is Star Wars in a slowdown? Because of the boycott, but it's also because of that huge payday D.B. Weiss and David Benioff got for jumping ship. And then the number 1 reason season 8 is in such a mess, and why you would have never got season 9 because of that Disney influence. If Disney didn't jump in, you very well may have gotten that, but you can't outbid a giant and a bully. So the number 1 reason is, once you get that Disney paycheck, you do everything you can to keep it, and Disney doesn't have a plan but deadlines and release dates. And when Rian Johnson's trilogy got canceled, we canceled the Starpocalypse by the fans that actually didn't go to that garbage Solo. There became a bigger gap for Star Wars, and they need it on a deadline. They need it by 2022. And you know what? I also think originally they were talking with them for their first in their series for 2023. And then Rian Johnson would have been 2020, 2021, and 2022. That's where Ryan's Lost Trilogy went. So, it was already on a short deadline, and they bumped it up and said, finish up your contract with HBO. Let's go. That's why you're seeing the mistakes and the rush job. That's my thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. You're rewarded for your great comments on this show, and I want to include you more and more. So let's get to the super chat and keep them coming. Okay, and this super chat goes to an awesome viewer, Chuck Graham. Give a hand to Chuck Graham. And I know he's a Cyberfrog fan. And you know what? I have my problems with the comic but it's not Cyberfrog the comic. I want it to do well. I just don't like when fandom is abused wherever it's happening. So here's Chuck's super chat question. I know you get upset with the Fandom Menace when they went to Star Wars Celebration. I thought it was lame too. And then he asks, what would you do different if you had access to those super chat funds? I'm going to level with you. I don't know, because I'm never doing it. And the reason I'm never doing it is, listen, my biggest problem with shills, wherever they are, Collider, John Campia, the Fandom Menace, the Menace of Fandom, is that they criticize big companies and then they become a big corporation themselves. No one person is better than others. You're all my brothers. And a movement like Comicsgate can be a beautiful thing when it includes everyone and everyone benefits from it. But the reality is, the way it is now, it's just benefiting the creators and the fans that started this gangster shit. Like Captain Cummings. Was he wrong to call him out? I don't think so, based on what I've seen. I wish he would come back, actually. We need more fans. I want to bring the fans back to fandom. It's being taken over by creators and celebrities. Do you think Jeremy's still a fan? He's a YouTube celebrity. And that's what he looks forward to the most. He's hanging by Pewdie's pews for everything he does. That's what he's got stars in his eyes. He'll do anything he can to get there. So, I think there's just as much bias and just as much as an argument as the shows shilling for big companies as fandom menacers shilling for their own benefit. I think there's just as much problems. How can you criticize companies when you become one? I'm not against capitalism either, but when it becomes, yes, the shirts were funny, but what you're going to have fandom menace onesies for babies? Then make fandom menace baby wipes because you're an a-hole. Yeah, it's funny, but it's a bridge too far. They've gone too far with this crap, and you can laugh sarcastically, oh yeah, it's a cash grab, and all that. But then when you're drunk and you're supposed to be at celebration, really doing the hard work, and when reality is, oh, give me $50 to say F you to Jeremy. I don't need to give you $50 to say F you, Jeremy. It's ridiculous. It makes me honestly nauseous, and it's a pet peeve of mine. It's not just with the fandom menace. It's across YouTube and across the internet. There's e-beggars and people camping on the streets of YouTube. It's just like a beggar out in the streets. Yes, there's some talent there. I think EVS is very talented. But when you're camped online all the time, you don't make your deadlines for Cyberfrog. I believe he's putting 100% in it. But if he wasn't camped out on the streets of YouTube, it would have been done already. And guess what? The one thing I think that the fandom menace is definitely preparing for the rise of Skywalker is Cyberfrog 2. And that's the reality. Do you think I'm wrong? Comment below. Hash it out. I think I've gone a little bit too long on this one. I appreciate you, Chuck, sticking with me because I do criticize them a lot. I appreciate you all sticking with me. And you know what? In reality, I know every time I criticize them that my subscriber count will go down. And I don't care because it's worth talking about. You got to keep the fan in fandom. And when you make fandom your day job, this is what we get. So keep those super chats coming. I hope to have another video later tonight. Sorry I got to split it up. My PC is an old one. And this is the way I got to do it for the meantime. See you later.